China's ultimate stealth weapons just hit the battlefield.
And they're built with Temu parts!
Radars are blind, missiles crash, and the top scientists boxed up and shipped out on military buses. Meanwhile, the US and Israel just blew up Iran's biggest natural gas lifeline. Europe's grand strategy for the upcoming winter? You better buy some extra sweaters. Back in Washington, the anti-terror chief rage quits over a manufactured war, and the Fed chair just shrugs at inflation. The global elites are totally guessing. Are you ready to fly blind?
You look at the news lately and wow, it feels like the world is just coming apart at the seams, right? Headlines are screaming about new wars, huge political scandals, and markets that are in a total freefall. But what if I told you the real story? The truly massive event that's unfolding isn't the one everyone's watching.
So let's just ask the question out loud. Is the world actually falling apart? Because it's really easy to look at the news cycle and think, yep, this is it. We're on the brink. The chaos just seems to be coming from every direction all at once.
For starters, the Middle East just exploded. In what is a massive escalation, US and Israeli forces have reportedly hit key Iranian energy infrastructure. This isn't some proxy skirmish anymore. This is threatening to drag the whole region into a full-blown war. And then, back in Washington, a political bombshell drops. The National Counterterrorism Director resigns, publicly. He basically says he cannot in good conscience support this new war. I mean, that's a huge move. It tells you there are some serious cracks forming at the very top of the intelligence world. And like clockwork, the markets are spooked. Of course they are. Oil prices are spiking over 5%, bond yields are soaring, investors are just dumping everything and running for the hills. It looks like your classic, textbook, wartime panic. Except, it's not. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to connect all of these crazy dots. We'll start with these headlines, but then we're going to dive into something called the Temu Weapons debacle. We're going to expose an entire empire of fakes, watch an emperor's furious purge, and then try to figure out what on earth it all means for investing in this, well, this age of absurdity. So how does this all tie together? Well, because the real story here isn't the war itself. It's what the threat of war is suddenly exposing about one of the world's biggest powers. It's a story about a military that, well, it might just be a total mirage. And this whole situation has given us this brilliant new viral term, Temu Weapons. You know, like the shopping app, it perfectly captures this growing problem. Super high-tech military gear coming out of China that looks amazing in parades, but the second it faces a real-world test, it just completely falls apart. And look, this isn't just a funny meme. This is based on a trilogy of recent, catastrophic, and honestly, deeply embarrassing failures of Chinese military hardware on the world stage. Let's check the receipts. Okay, first up, Pakistan. They bought China's absolute top-of-the-line anti-stealth radar and air defense system. The promise was an impenetrable shield. The reality? During a skirmish with India, that so-called advanced radar was blinded instantly by some pretty basic electronic jamming. And the missile system that went with it, it just crashed. Didn't fire a single shot. Whoops. All right, next on to Venezuela. They bought another one of these supposed stealth killers to protect the presidential palace. The reality? It completely missed the US Black Hawk helicopters that showed up for a raid. And get this, an intelligence report later found that over half of the radars were already broken because of humidity and power surges. Seriously, humidity? And that brings us right up to today. With Iran, they put their faith in the HQ-9B system, which was sold as China's answer to the best Russian air defense out there. The reality? Israeli F-35s flew right by it, completely undetected. And its reaction time was clocked at 20 seconds. A US Patriot system, 6 seconds. In modern air combat, that 14-second difference isn't a gap, it's an eternity. It's game over before you've even started playing. So how does a massive state propaganda machine try to explain away these kinds of failures? Well, you honestly can't make this up. To cover for one of these radar breakdowns, they actually published a story praising a female soldier who, when her advanced system failed, supposedly saved the day. So how did she do it? She used an abacus and mental calculation to guide a surface-to-air missile. I'm not joking. A super soldier with an abacus replacing a billion-dollar piece of technology. This isn't just propaganda, it's basically a confession wrapped up in a layer of complete absurdity. So why is this happening? I mean, this isn't just a few bad products coming off the assembly line. This feels systemic.
It's what you get when you build what can only be described as an empire of fakes. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. There's a simple formula, really. A project needs a $10,000 military-grade computer wafer that can handle the stress of combat. A corrupt project manager goes out and buys a cheap civilian-grade one for a few $100, stamps it with fake markings, and just pockets the massive difference. It works just fine during those highly scripted military parades, right? But the moment it faces real electronic warfare, it fries. And that multi-million-dollar weapon system instantly becomes a useless piece of junk. Now, as you can imagine, when news of these international humiliations got back to Beijing, the reaction was not good. Xi Jinping, a man who has staked his entire legacy on building a world-class military, was reportedly furious. And his response has been swift, and it has been brutal. A great purge of his entire military-industrial complex. And we are not talking about small-time players getting the axe here. We're talking about the biggest names in the business. Wu Manqing, the country's top radar expert, Wei Yi'in, a leading missile guidance specialist, and maybe most shocking of all, Yang Wei, the celebrated father of the J-20 stealth fighter. And they haven't just been fired, they've disappeared. And this purge leads to a pretty terrifyingly logical question. Right, think about it. If the advanced radars, the very tools you use to test and validate the stealthiness of your prized J-20 fighter jet, if those radars are fraudulent, then what does that say about the jet itself? How do you measure stealth with a broken ruler? The entire program, the absolute crown jewel of China's military, could be one giant multi-trillion-dollar lie. Okay, so how does this all circle back to those panicked markets we started with? Well, here is the final beautiful twist in this story. The markets are panicking about completely the wrong thing. While cable news is screaming about war in Iran, Wall Street is terrified of this number. 4.3%. That's the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury. This is the market's real boogeyman. See, a war is chaotic, sure, but a rising bond yield is just cold, hard math. It means the cost of borrowing money is going up for everyone, from governments to people buying a house. The real fear isn't some foreign conflict. It's the U.S. Federal Reserve, it's domestic inflation, and the very real chance of higher interest rates sticking around for a lot longer. So here's the absolute absurdity of it all. The financial markets are obsessing over a tiny move by the Fed while almost completely ignoring the fact that one of the world's supposed great military powers might be a total paper tiger, with an arsenal full of knockoff electronics and Abacus-guided missiles. We live in a world of bluffs, and the biggest risk isn't always the one making the headlines. Which brings us to our final thought for the day. As all these layers of lies and corruption get peeled away, it really forces us as observers, as investors, to ask a pretty fundamental question. In a global system that might be propped up by fake weapons, fake data, and fake power, what's actually real? What is the one asset that you can truly, truly count on?
City lights glow slow, satellites watching below. The world is talking in codes tonight, but nobody sleeps. There's a fire in the midnight sky, gas fuels burning while the oil runs high. Missiles cause the Persian line, energy shaking the trade in time. Europe watching tankers move, markets listening to every groove. One strike changes every chart, power shifting. Signals falling through the night, money dancing with the fire. This is the midnight briefing, the whole world shifting, power and money breathing the same. This is the midnight briefing, history drifting, nothing in the game stays the same. Stays the same. Eastern labs losing control, broken systems take their toll. Weapons failing in the field, truth is something you can't conceal. Scientists waiting in silent halls, empty dust behind closed walls. Cheap chips hidden in the code, empire pressure overload. Home starts to fade away, new rules coming in This is the midnight briefing, the whole world shifting, power and money breathing the same. This is the midnight briefing, history drifting, nothing in the game stays the same. Young dreams locked outside the gate, 40% waiting on fate. Wealth moves slow to older hands, future lost in broken plans. Central banks be cold tonight, interest climbing out of sight. Markets shaking floor to sky, nobody knows the reason why. This is the midnight briefing, empires breathing, shadows writing the rules again. This is a midnight briefing, the world still spinning, dancing on the edge of the end. Dancing on the edge of the end. Dancing on the edge of the end. Briefing over, but the game never sleeps. Midnight city lights glow slow, satellites watching below. The world is talking in codes tonight, but nobody sleeps. There's fire in the midnight sky, gas fields burning while the ore runs high. Missiles cross the Persian line, energy shaking the trading time. Europe watching tankers move, markets listening to every groove. One strike changes every chart, power shifting in the dark. Signals falling through the night. Money dancing with the fire. This is the midnight briefing, the whole world shifting, power and money breathing the same. This is the midnight briefing, history drifting, nothing in the game stays the same. Eastern labs losing control, broken systems take their toll. Weapons failing in the field, truth is something you can't conceal. Scientists fading in silent halls, empty desks behind closed walls, cheap chips hidden in the code, empire pressure overload. Omens start to fade away, new rules coming into play. This is the midnight briefing, the whole world shifting, power and money breathing the same. This is the midnight briefing, history drifting, nothing in the game stays the same. Young dreams locked outside the gate, 40% waiting on fate. Wealth moves slow to older hands, future lost in broken plans. Central banks be cold tonight, interest climbing out of sight. Markets shaking floor to sky, nobody knows the reason why.